Hi, I'm Captain Stromberg, and in this episode we are going to work on combining a few of the programs we have worked on in the past. We have a program with a gyro to go straight, and we have a program to have the robot stop at a specific distance with centimeters. Both of these are neat, but they are not useful until we can combine them to work together. So we can go straight and stop where we want to. We are going to have to make a few simple my blocks to help us with this project. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is make a my block that's going to go ahead and reset the count on the wheels. And it's a really simple my block to make. We just need these motor sensors, and you wouldn't think that the motors are sensors, except that they keep track of what the count is for the wheels. And we just need to set these both to reset and change one to the B port and one for the C port, because these are what we use for what I'm using for the drive wheels. And these are the defaults, and I like to use the defaults as much as possible. So this is going to reset the count of the wheels so that there's no residual count from whatever we might have had going with the motors previously in the program. Now we just simply need to make this into a my block, so make sure to highlight both of them. Go to my block builder, and we're going to call this my block and motor reset. And resets the count of the drive motors B and C. And we're going to use this picture right here to make it consistent with what this is, because we're dealing with the motor. And there's no input, there's no output, so we can just go ahead and finish. And now we have a my block to reset the motors. So now we're going to need another simple program. So we're going to go ahead and we need one that's going to average the wheel rotations and return a value to us to use in the program. And so again, we can use this motor rotation, and this time we want to measure the degrees of rotation. And then we're going to measure the degrees of rotation also, and we're going to use the B and C. And then we're going to come and to do an average is a simple math problem. And we can do this all using one advanced math block. So we'll take a math block. We could use multiple math blocks to do this, but we can do it all in the one. And we're just going to take B and C. And to do an average, it is A plus B. And we put these in parentheses because of order of operation. And then we divide that by 2. Order of operation, if you don't know what that is, if you haven't gotten to that in your math class, it's that you're supposed to add and subtract and multiply and divide in a specific order. If you just wrote A plus B divided by 2, the order of operation says you should do the division first. So it would be B divided by 2, and then it would add the A. But by putting the parentheses around the A plus B, it's going to do the A plus B first, and then it'll divide it by 2. And the computer uses order of operations 100% correct 100% of the time. So it knows what it's supposed to do, so you have to know what to give it in order to get the output that you're looking for. Alright, so now we just simply need to make this into a my block. So tools, my block builder, and again, my block, average motor rotations. Or actually, it's degrees of rotation. And returns the average motor degrees of rotation. Alright, so again, to be consistent, we're going to use this symbol here. Now this actually does have a parameter. And this parameter is an output, and this is going to be degrees of rotation. And for the parameter icon, again, we're going to use this symbol here, because this is what the motor block uses as the icon for degrees of rotation. And that way we're being consistent. And then when we connect our lines, it all lines up. Again, it's very important with my blocks to make sure you have everything set up correctly, because you cannot go back and just edit it. So everything looks good. We've got our output degrees of rotation. There is no input, only one, and we've got the right symbols up there. So we'll go ahead and finish. Then we just need to connect our equals to the output of the MyBlock. Alright, so let's have a quick discussion why you want to average the wheels and the count for the wheels. And the answer is you're going to have slight differences between your left wheel and your right wheel on how far it goes, especially if it has to curve slightly or something. So you want an average distance. And this is going to give you the most accurate way to have the robot stop at the right distance. It's just going to take the left wheel and the right wheel, add them together, divide it by 2, that gives you the average. So if it's curving slightly one way or slightly the other way, if it's following a line or going straight, it's going to give you the most accurate stopping distance possible. If you're just using the left wheel or the right wheel, it's just not going to be as accurate. Alright, now that we have a couple of MyBlock tools put together, we're going to go ahead and use those tools, and we're going to just modify this Gyro Go Straight program. So we have this program, and it tells the gyro to go straight, but it's missing a few things, like telling it when to stop. So what we first want to do is we're going to go ahead and use our MyBlocks, and we're going to use the reset, and we're going to reset the wheels first of all. Now what we can do is we can use our centimeters to degrees of rotation to figure out how far we want to go. And we're going to need another variable for distance. And it's going to be distance, but it's going to be measured in degrees of rotation. So we're going to add variable distance degrees of rotation. And we're going to have our input centimeters, and if we wanted to go 10 centimeters, you'd put 10 in there, and we're just going to output that right into the variable there. Alright, we still need our gain and our speed, and so those are important things that we're going to have to use, and it's good to have them set up. And we still need our reset gyro. And then what we're going to need is a loop, and we already have our loop here. And what we're going to need to do is change what happens inside our loop. Right now it's just looping forever and ever and ever and ever. We need some way to tell it to stop. And so we're going to make our loop bigger, and we're going to use a little bit of multitasking with our loop. And in order to do that, we just need to move this stuff over and then connect this back to here. Alright, so right now it's going to go through loop and just come over here to exit. But we can add some more code at the bottom that's going to let us go ahead and exit. So what we want to do is take our distance variable and we're going to connect, we are going to connect this down here. And this is using multitasking. So you can see that the code is going to run this way, but it's also going to come down here and run down here. And now we want to check the average of the wheels in degrees of rotation Both of these are in degrees of rotation, so that's good. We want to make sure we're using the same format. And then we can compare the two. So we'll need a compare block. So we'll come down and take our compare block. And we want to see if the motor average is greater than or equal to the distance. And the distance should be read numeric. If that is true, then we should exit the loop. So we can go to our logic and we can come over and have, if that is true, it should exit the loop. And there we have our little program that should go straight for a distance in centimeters and stop at that distance, and it should go nice and straight as it's going. So let's go ahead and try that and make sure it works. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and run the program really quick. And you can see it moves about 10 centimeters and then it stops. You'll also notice that it rolled to a stop, so it didn't actually apply the brakes. And that's something that we didn't add to the end of the my block, is a little braking block. And so we should have added that in order to have it stop exactly at our 10 centimeters instead of just coasting to a stop. Alright, so let's go ahead and add a stop block to this program. And we just want a motor. And we're going to take the move tank motor. Put it at the end of our loop and just turn the robot off, or the motor off, and we're going to apply the brake so that the robot doesn't continue to roll, and that way it stops at our very specific distance. So let's go ahead and see what that does. Alright, now with the updated program, we'll run it, and you'll notice it doesn't roll to a stop, it just stops. So that's going to give us our accurate distance. And it's only going 10 centimeters, so it's hard to see that it's tracking straight, but we showed you that working earlier. So I hope this was a useful program for you and that you learned something and can use this to make your robots more accurate.